So I'd like to introduce my remarkable panel that I've got today. I feel totally privileged. So I'm just going to go along the line there. Monica, please, can you come? Monica from Capgemini, from Pegatron, Pietro from AMD, and Tom from Bloomberg. And I'm missing one. Please, come on. I'm very delighted that to manage this panel. And as I mentioned to the Vice Minister, his speech was actually very good to set the scene for what we're actually doing in this panel session. So as India accelerates its digital transformation, edge computing and AI are converging to redefine how data is processed, decisions are made, and services are delivered, especially in sectors like manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, and agriculture. But unlocking this potential requires more than just technology. It demands collaboration across hardware providers, cloud platforms, systems integrators, and policymakers. Today, my remarkable panel are going to be quizzed by me on a number of questions, so don't look too worried. So I'm going to start off by introducing my first question. So let's dive into these questions. The first thing is, let's begin by exploring foundational layer of edge AI infrastructure, computing capabilities, and hardware readiness. Pietro, I now have a real difficulty saying name, I'll let you introduce your own name, from AMD to share his perspective. So I'm going to ask you, what compute capabilities are essential to support low latency AI workloads on the edge, especially in India's rural and industrial context? Pietro.
Great. So this is a great question. And when you're looking about low latency edge implementation of AI workloads, you would be looking at a number of dimensions that you will have to balance. Okay, so first of all, the compute element. So that's the key one. The next one will be the connectivity, and the fact, you will need to connect, of course, to a wider network. Then the next area will be looking at the energy efficiency. This is an absolutely key parameter when it comes to edge. And finally, you're looking also at AI optimized models. And this is all needs to be balanced, because at the end of the day, especially for the rural implementations and industrial type of implementations, you will be looking at the high level of localization and the high level of resilience as well as the power and energy efficiency. Now, in terms of so let's take step by step about so what hardware will be required in here. So starting with the compute elements, that will include CPU, it will include GPU, also network processors, or NICs quite often as well. And depending on the type of implementation, some of the inferences, for instance, you would be able to do on a CPU, not necessarily using the GPU at all. So that's one of the key areas to look into it. CPU, of course, will be running all of the control plane, but it could also run, it will be running orchestration, but also could be running some of the inferencing as well. The other thing is what you will be looking, once you've got these compute building blocks, you need to put it into a platform. And these platforms will need to be ruggedized. Most of the telcos will be using a certification, which is NEBS, which certifies and really hardens on temperature, on wide range of temperature, humidity, on vibration and dust as well. So that's another thing that needs to be taken into account as well. Then you're looking at optimized AI models that you will be looking in that. In hybrid implementations, you will be looking also at the connectivity, where you've got both the data center, big data center, but also the edge. You will be looking at a high level of reliability of a connection, of a backbone there. And finally, you will be looking, of course, these systems will have to have high level of security and manageability as well.
That's really great. I think hopefully for a lot of our audience, that's really explained a bit, because we're talking here about the foundation level. I mean, we hear often a difference between centralization and decentralization. We worry about power efficiency. Could you give us some insights about what might be important for India, to match that balance and these complicated, triangular views?
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's interesting, because, is there a balance between centralized and decentralized? Probably not at the moment. But to be quite honest, India is on the forefront, of looking and getting, to this balance probably faster than a lot of other geographies, I think. So right now, most of the workloads will be in data centers, which are great for, of course, for the training, but also for the batch processing, for instance. But with that, you've got limitations that your latency will be high, okay? So for low latency, you need to bring this compute capabilities actually to the edge. The other thing that, edge will give you also, ability to make decisions much faster in a way, and to control it in a faster way. But there are certain areas that it will have to be fulfilled as well. So you will need to provide a low power. You will need to provide be in a smaller form factor. So this is where it comes, of looking at what innovation in compute can really be brought. These would be the key things. Like getting the power efficiency, not only the maximum performance, but also getting performance per watt, which is extremely important. The other thing is, in most of the cases, you will need to have it in a smaller form factor as well, which brings some of the challenges when it comes to cooling, okay? But also you will see that your security will have to be very, very high as well, okay?
So, thank you so much. I mean, this is the title of this, about edge. Where do we get the balance? I think we're here at India Mobile Congress. We see there the mobile networks playing a significant part on that, whether, being as we move closer to the edge.
Yeah, so, maybe one thing as well, actually, you were asking about the balance, Jeanette. I've seen a number that, or prediction that in India, the split between centralized and decentralized will be reaching 50-50 by 2030, which is extremely important, impressive.
Wow. Again, India breaking barriers, the fastest rollout on 5G, now the fastest to get that balance. So thank you very much on that. So we talked about the devices in the edge. So let's come on to how edge devices and 5G connectivity are evolving to meet India's real-time innovation needs. So Jayant, from Pegatron, I know you're from Pegatron, so I'd like to ask you, how are 5G-enabled devices and edge hardware evolving to meet India's real-time innovations needs across sectors like manufacturing and logistics, particularly as we heard earlier that this is happening faster in India than anywhere else?
True. And we've had, so I come from the telecom background. I hope I'm audible here. We are right now in the 5G era, and it's the first time that the term, private networks kind of started with 4G, but if you want to have real high-speed uplink throughput, which is what you need when you go to manufacturing, you definitely need, it's mostly done on 5G. So having said that, there are a number of functionalities that come into play when you have to deploy it, as you said, low latency. One of the first things is when you need to balance between, say, centralized and decentralized. If you really need decentralized on-premises gives you the lowest latency, period. You're not beholden to the external network, which is prone to breakage, etc. Everything on premises, energy efficiency, all of that, the technology evolves. What is also happening when it comes to manufacturing? Now, there is a wide range when you say manufacturing. Everybody thinks of huge factories, but MSMEs also play an important role, and they also need automation moving forward. So it is not the big factories, but factories of what we call may not be micro, but small and medium enterprises as well. You can create such networks. Hopefully, they will, the term that is used is TCO, that you can do. And from a 5G or a network 3GPP perspective, there are functionalities that come in. For instance, reduced capability, which is the equivalent of NB-IoT in 4G. So RedCap, as it's commonly known, that is one functionality that helps you reduce some cost. Also, currently, if you have a product mix, every time you need to change a product mix, you need to change the wiring. That can take months, that can take downtime. With 5G connecting all the devices and all the machines, that becomes much easier. There is still work to be done, ultimately leading into what we call time synchronized networks. I'll stick to manufacturing for, yeah. So that's one aspect, and I can give personal example. We have a huge factory in Indonesia, in Batam, where we manufacture 5G devices, RedCap cameras, CPEs, etc., spread across 85,000 square meters, where we have actually deployed our own private 5G network, and also deployed automation through our own AI applications to increase productivity, to reduce downtime, and to be able to increase the efficiency. And what we see from a Pegatron perspective, at least, is that you now have, yes, there are, data centers need not be centralized. You have edge data centers that are going to proliferate in India. So, there are lots of companies who are starting to deploy. These would be containers that you locate at different places. You don't have to bring out, carry back all that, say, traffic to a central location, but they will be spread out. Again, help you the balance between decentralized and centralized, reduce the latency. So we believe it's a trifecta of three things. One is the AI aspect. One is also the 5G, and the hardware is also evolving. So all the way from, we work with AMD as well. And other than that, having, even within AI, from my perspective, you have a different range of capabilities. And so we will have edge AI capable devices deployed into machines. It's starting to happen, which can then take quicker decisions, reduce the latency further. So yeah, it's a trifecta of innovation and evolution in the devices, in the 5G technology, and obviously, the application layer. So.
Oh, well, very nicely put there. I think a very important point you made there is about small and medium enterprises. They're the backbone of this economy. There are many economies, the small, medium enterprises, and we do need to ensure that we can provide solutions there. So it's very interesting to hear what you had to say. And I think that combination of those three aspects, yeah, sure.
This is going to be in a bit of Hindi. So I have, having worked in this industry, there are three things which work here. Sundar, Sasta, Tikau. So, and it's a concept that applies across various industries. So I think, you need to have your TCO, whatever you do, your TCO, total cost of ownership is what's going to drive everything.
Yeah. I think Monica will be saying something about that as well. Do you want to just make a comment, Monica? No. But we said this is an interactive panel. Monica, please.
Take it up to the full. So I think, Janet, in coming from the telecom background, it's very simply put. All solutions, and it's in a very, very simple way where I kind of talk about it. There are three things which matter, and all the previous years while growing up, when it came to any process, it was like tools, process, and platforms and all. So in today's time, all solutions are a combination of intelligence, connectivity, and compute. And converting into technology, it becomes AI, 5G, and distributed compute, which is cloud edge. And so, which is where, whatever Piotr said, Jen said, we are all trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we've called you the remarkable panel, because you guys are all bringing this together. And, we often say, well, what's the monetization of 5G? Some of these things does take time, and we all want to see that. We put in a lot of investment in the network. So let me move on actually to talk a little bit about cloud, if I may. Shrikant from AWS, we'd love to hear how you're supporting telcos and enterprises in this space. Can you share some examples of real-time use cases that AWS has been involved in?
Sure. So I think Jayant just talked about distributed compute. Monica also mentioned it. Let me take it with an example, and I'll take this mic as an example. So let's say I'm standing in an international forum where most of the audiences speak different languages, and I'm speaking in English. Now there's an AI required in the mic to translate my speech in real time for the user, whether they need it in French, Spanish, or whichever language. So that is AI at the edge. Okay. Now the next step is, if I want whatever I'm speaking, if that needs to be corroborated with information on the internet, and some summary has to be derived out of it, that requires me to send this data to the cloud and process it. So that sets the fundamental foundation of why cloud needs to be distributed, and we recognize that. So at AWS, we have this concept of cloud continuum. So we provide compute right from the data center to the devices, okay, and anywhere in between. So we have the regions, we have the local zones, we have the edge devices, and we also have the compute which is there on the edge. Now this is part of compute. Another important aspect is the services. So a lot of these services which run on the cloud, their smaller version or a more efficient version needs to run on the edge as well. So for IoT, for example, and especially important in the edge AI use cases, you need something like an IoT green grass to take the LLMs, quantize them, and make them capable to run on these edge devices. So that becomes the services part. The most important part is a seamless end-to-end manageability for all of them. Okay, so what we do is we provide a single console to manage your compute on the data center and your compute on the edge to give the seamless capability to the enterprises to enable edge AI use cases. Of course, a lot of use cases exist around the healthcare industry, around the farming industry, around manufacturing automation, but the structure or the foundation of the architecture still remains the same.
That's very interesting when we talk about seamless connectivity and providing it across the whole ecosystem. We know here even anything like providing this conference, it requires end-to-end seamlessness. So is there any example you could pick from India in particular that you would like to share with the audience where AWS has delivered some solutions?
So I can probably take our own example in our Amazon warehouses, where we run a lot of automation, and most of the the movement of the goods happens through robots. Now these are use cases where the decisions have to be made in real time and with very low latency to avoid any incidents at the factory floor. That's where running this edge AI becomes important, along with the private 5G or private 4G connectivity with the low latency. So we have seen a lot of these use cases not just in our warehouse automation, but also in the manufacturing industry, in logistics and similar areas. Some of them have been implemented in India, and a lot of them we see in international as well.
That's actually interesting because I was talking to somebody yesterday and saying I'd not brought one of my things with me, you know, in the suitcase. I'm traveling a lot. And she said, oh, in India, it's fantastic. You order something and within 7 minutes, it'll be delivered to you. I said, 7 minutes? I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So to see it in action, something like that, that is amazing. So, and they actually mentioned Amazon. So I just thought I'd give you a plug on that one. So let's move on then. So from now to Monica, you know, from Capgemini's point of view, you understand what's driving the edge AI uptake among Indian businesses. Can you explain that and how integrators like Capgemini can help scale? Because scale is always one of the big issues.
So, you know, when it comes to the main drivers, I think, you know, the drivers are very simple. Anything and everything which we are looking at is becoming more digital and more automated, and that's the driver. And but then again, there is a full design and an implementation journey to it, and which is where all different you know, stakeholders and the different players in the ecosystem have a play in it. And like I said, it was very simply put that it's a combination of AI, 5G, and different form of compute. But if you look at the solutioning, putting it all together is where the complexity or, you know, the detailing arises. So when it comes to, you know, the drivers are digitization. But when it comes to the challenges, I think there is a very clear shift we are seeing, and specifically when it comes to enterprises. In the past, we have been used to what I call as point-to-point solutions. You know, fully clear end-to-end solutions doing a specific task in the industrial operational world. This is changing. I call it a change from singularity to plurality. All the technologies now support multiple use cases or multiple solutions in the industrial operations. Just taking a simple example, Shrikant was talking about warehouses and logistics. You can now look at mobile robots. You can look at handheld scanners, real-time updates, whereas previously the updates were all, you know, the data being stored in the scanner itself, remote offline data being synced in a period of about 4 hours or at times even 8 hours. Many times the battery used to run out and the scanning used to stop. So in contrast to that, you're talking of real-time handheld scanners. You're talking of precise location-based services. You're talking of energy management. You're talking of simple voice and data coverage in a large warehouse. Now, these itself are 5 use cases. So now when you deploy a 5G connectivity, or you deploy an edge compute or a cloud compute, or you even look at AI-based solutioning, you're not looking at one solution. You're looking at 5 solutions, but one architecture supporting all these 5, and then a roadmap to support more. That's the complexity, and which is why this implementation and this adoption is slow. And specifically, there is a slowdown happening between POC pilots and industrialization or scaling, because this is the journey we need to embark on.
Do you see when do you see it like speeding up a bit more, Monica? Do you see a sort of time frame, or is it's just complicated and it will just take time?
It's as simple as it is. You know, once a particular solution is proven and its benefits realized, after that it's replication.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we've heard throughout this conference, and you know, Prime Minister Modi is about, you know, with the priorities that we've got in India, like India AI and digital public infrastructure, especially in sectors like health and agriculture. I mean, how can integrators ensure that this is implemented in line with policies?
So every you know, country and specifically in India, there are certain sectors where the needs are more immediate and where the solutions can yield an immediate impact. And why that is important is because immediate impact also results in immediate ROI, and that automatically then, you know, kind of pushes up the need and hence the faster deployment. So even if you look at the India AI mission, the top sectors we are talking about there are agriculture, health, financial institutions, fraud prevention, cybersecurity. So, and this is something which we are also seeing as trends globally. I mean, even if you look at, the GSMA Telco API, the Open Gateway program, you're talking of similar sectors when it comes to exposing the APIs. Also, given the geographic spread of India, because we're talking specifically about edge intelligence, we need to realize that edge means a number of things, and I think Jayant beautifully mentioned about it. It's on-premise, it's a provider edge or the telco edge, and it's there also an edge compute on the device itself. What we call as far, near, and data center edge. So given the geographic spread of India, I think the telco edge or the provider edge is a key component, and which then beautifully fits into the India AI mission and the DPI which we are talking about, because the rollouts will be at a macro level.
Oh, well, that's actually very good to hear, actually. So complementing the policy is actually what we would call an enabling policy then for the industry. So now let's zoom out to the broader ecosystem. Tom from Wind River, we're keen to hear what global lessons can be applied to India's edge AI journey, especially around interoperability and trust, which was one of the areas that Monica mentioned.
Sure, we couldn't have accomplished anything we've done without our partners, including AWS and AMD, and especially Capgemini out there. We've deployed a lot of pretty complicated and very large edge networks out there. And along the way, there's some specific learnings that might not be obvious that we come up with. So interoperability used to be kind of you're interoperable with a thing. There. Now there's a situation where all of these solutions are kind of multi-vendor solutions, and they might be multi-vendors for different locations and that sort of thing. It's a very complicated stack of vendors, software, hardware vendors that have to be interoperable with. But your end customer also has requirements that may actually make interoperability more complicated, right? And so you've got to do this liaison between the end customer and the partners that you're interoperating with to make sure that the performance of your product matches the requirements of the end customer, and the interoperability is also achieved there. And it's kind of a back and forth between releases. It's more complicated than it used to be because we're doing multi-vendor solutions a lot in there. But I could give some basic things that have helped a lot, and that's like embracing the velocity of open source. AI is born from open source, and that helps you get features and fixes a lot faster because communities are better at developing those things than sometimes an individual company is there. And embracing standards, that sort of thing. But a couple of very specific things that we've done to support vast edge networks is we provide like long life cycles for our major releases of our products. Because if you don't have that, then you might have 50,000, 100,000 sites in your cloud, in your edge cloud there. Some of them are not going to be touched for a very long time, and there could be some drift from the standard. You may not be able to upgrade everything in the time frame that you've got. So we do provide very long life cycles for software, which is kind of not an obvious requirement for a cloud there. The next thing we do is we support multiple versions of Kubernetes in the same cloud. And this is because you might have workloads from multiple vendors that are not compatible with new versions of the cloud as you're deploying that. And so you need to actually leave some products behind, some of the stack behind on older versions of Kubernetes while you lift things up. If you don't do that, you end up getting a bottleneck where you cannot upgrade the cloud along the way. So those are some critical things we've learned.
Yeah. So we can always learn then from outside and look at what I would call good practices. It's always, it's been worked somewhere else. So I think we've had some amazing insights here. If we think we've gone right from the chipsets right across the whole value chain. So to sort of wrap up, I'd like to pose a final question to the entire panel. We've not got too long, so it's going to be a quick-fired one. So as India builds its AI infrastructure, what role can GSMA play in fostering collaboration, policy alignment, and trusted innovation. We talked about all these things here. So, Jayant, I'm going to ask you first for that one.
So I think GSMA has different programs already when it comes to fostering policy, etc. On various verticals, and this is not can bring in different how do I say different segments which make up the entire solution. I think they can GSMA can play that role, including the cellular carriers, SI partners, and folks like us or the panel that we have today, as a just giving as an example. And I believe looking at each segment where what sort of issues can come up and what kind of perhaps policy prescriptions can be provided, brainstorming. I think that is something that probably GSMA would be well suited to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I've got two of my two of the wonderful team here that I'm sure they're taking notes on this, because we always like a call to action when we have we don't want to just sit here and talk. We want to make sure we're going to do something. So let's start with Peter. I know I'll waken you up. I know you said you
absolutely, absolutely. So, I think that GSMA will do whatever you guys do best. Organizing, fostering, collaboration, putting us all together, and So I think that that's how we see that. But I wanted really come back to one more thing as well. That Monica and Tom mentioned as well. The fact about the edge, different types of edge. There will be different edge implementations in India, which is a big country, and different, for instance, in Belgium or Luxembourg, okay? And that will drive different implementations as well, from the point of view that, you can afford more power and, more performance actually in the regional data centers that will be, at one of the edges in a way, and get the efficiency of processing there. You will add it, of course, with the appropriate level of latency as well, where, for instance, when River comes in, with you guys are doing, amazing thing in real time systems, So overall, I think that, this will definitely, help, the industry to come up with the best solutions.
Well, I think very good point there. I mean, one of the things we do, we're learning in some countries are doing something different, and we can bring that across. I think, again, a great role for GSMA. So Shrikant, anything from AWS on what you'd like to see GSMA do?
I think what Jayant said, the part of bringing the entire ecosystem together, I think GSMA does that very well. And the second part is standardization. It's a very rapidly evolving industry, especially around IoT, around edge. I think bringing in the right level of standardization will actually help to expedite the growth. I think that's really required at this stage.
Yeah. Oh, we take that on board. We see that as a real role for us. So, Tom, I'll let you answer next.
So yeah, you need to keep doing what you do best. But I'd also suggest that you do a liaison with Project Margo for the industrial edge there. Let's think of a holistic approach to this. The reason being, there's one challenge to driving the cost out of the network, which is necessary in India. That's in both power consumption, the actual resource needed, the hardware, and all of that. But driving the profit into the network is going to come from opening up new business cases. And as we use that edge to actually control industrial OT robots and the like Monica was saying there, that just brings more money into the model and facilitates a successful rollout of a vast edge network.
Well, thank you very much for that. I mean, we see that as a very important role. In fact, if you come along, well, you don't need to come along to our GSMA stand, but we've released a report today, which is about some of the use cases. And, again, like showing what those are to, get more people using it. We see sustainability of the industry is absolutely crucial to make this thing work. I mean, we need to ensure we drive costs down and everybody can make a good return on what's happening. So, Monica, I'm giving you the last word on this.
Sure. I don't think I have anything more to say except just summarizing what the others have said. I mean, given the geographic size of India, I think definitely GSMA has a role because the telcos playing a role in the edge, in some form of edge, the provider edge is essential in India, and specifically for the B2B2C kind of use cases. So that's where GSMA can do. And the second point, which I think everyone mentioned about global best practices and collaboration, I think there again GSMA can play a big role. Specifically, I'm just back from US, so what AWS is, for example, doing with Verizon, the 20 plus local regional data centers which have fine-tuning to what works best for India is where GSMA can definitely help.
Okay, so we've got a nice to-do list which we willingly accept. And now it's just my time to thank this really, truly remarkable panel for their skills and expertise. They've come and joined us on this session. They're all very busy, we know that, like everybody is here. So let's give them a real round of applause for their support on this. Yes, we've got a little memento to remind you of this wonderful experience you had at this panel session. All right, okay.